Hey guys, what's going on? It's Don here from Novaspirit Tech and welcome back to our channel. And today we are going to be checking out Seeed Studio's Odyssey x86 SBC board that they just recently released. So let's get started. Now before we begin, I do want to thank Seeed Studios for sending me over this board for review, and all the links will be down in the description below. Now before I get into everything, I do want to say I was super excited to see this board when it first came to market because of the dual NICs in the back. I was super excited about that because as soon as I saw that and all the connectivity and the interfaces that it has with it, a lot of projects that I could be doing like PF Sense or Snort or I don't know, just a lot of projects. But anyway, if you have any projects that you do want to see in the future with this board, list it down in the comments down below. So to get started, we do have this awesome packaging, which is a matte finish, and it's like a slide box that you have underneath, and everything, all the components are down inside. The first thing it comes with is obviously the board itself, which we will talk about in a second. It also comes with a SATA connector, so you don't have to worry about purchasing this extra. It does come with it. You get two antennas, which is for Bluetooth/Wi-Fi. Then you get a real-time clock battery where you could plug in and place it anywhere you want. And you get a 12-volt power supply with all the connectors, so you don't have to worry about specifically buying that connector for your country. So you have EU, US, all that other stuff. So as of right now, there is a case that you could purchase with this guy for $15, which I'll show you on their site. I don't have it yet because they just, due to what's going on in the world, it's a little bit hard to get a hold of, but I can't wait to test it out. Especially they have some sort of like plastic/tempered glass up on top so you can see through the board. I thought that was a really cool idea, especially if you stick in some LEDs in there. Yeah, anyway, it looks really cool, so I'll leave a link to that as well. Now, let's get into the board a little. And I'm going to start off with looking at from the bottom. First, you get this huge heat sinks, which I believe it cools down the CPU and also the RAM, because I don't see the RAM on the top, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be on the bottom, as well as this fan that's pretty much exposed, but it's really, really quiet. And this does come with 8 gigs of RAM on all models, as well as the Intel Celeron J4105, which is a pretty impressive CPU, which I did not believe until I started playing around with it. Flipping over to the top, this is where all the magic happens with all the interfaces and the connectivity. So I'm going to start with the back, where I consider the back is the barrel. First, you have a power button. Then you have a barrel connector, which is, I believe, the 5mm 12 volts to 19 volt barrel connector. 2 Ethernet ports, which, like I said, I'm excited about. A full-size HDMI, which does 4K at 60 frames. Then 2 USB 2.0s. Turning over to the right side, or just 90 degrees, I'm just going to say, you have your SATA connector with 3 extra power plugs. So if you want to connect more SATAs, you can if you're going to use something like this on the board, which is like an extra 2 connectors for the B key. Then you have your M.2 B key, where you could actually stick in an extra SATA SSD or a cellular module. More about that in a little bit. Turning again over to 90 degrees. You're going to see a headphone jack, USB-C connector, which also allows for power in and display port, and it does 40K at 60 frames as well. USB 3.1. Then this sandwich connector that has actually a SIM card connector and also a SD card, which is pretty cool, which leads us back to the cellular module, because if you have a cellular module, you could do cellular connection with this guy. So yeah, turning again to another 90 degrees, you're going to see a 40-pin GPIO connector, which is Raspberry Pi compatible. Right now it only works with Linux because I only see guides for Linux, so it does work and it's pretty cool. I'll show you in a second in the BIOS. Taking a look at this guy in the BIOS, you're going to see that you have the system language date. This is like a normal BIOS layout. You have the advanced setting, trusted computers, ACPI settings, CPU configurations. There is actually VTD turbo mode. Oh, that's pretty cool. Thermals, which you could actually set. Oh, and their fan is actually an on and off thing. There's no gradual raise up and down. So yeah, it's either full on or full off, but the fan is quiet. CSM support, NVMe configurations. I don't have one installed yet. Hardware monitor, so it's at 31 degrees. That's pretty cool. Hat configurations is something that I wanted to show you guys. You actually have all the controls for the 40-pin GPIO for the Raspberry Pi out. You can either set it up pre-output high or low. It's pretty cool that you can set it up in the BIOS over here. It's the first time I've ever seen it on any BIOS that you could do the hat configurations. Then you have the RCT alarm configurations, and you can actually schedule it to come on and off. eMMC, let's see, fan control normal, Adreno power control, restore power. Oh, they have this option. Some of them don't have that option to power up the board again. You could set your aperture size over here, so if you needed to be more memory for your graphic card, which should be done if we were going to run some benchmarks, but I ran the benchmarks on 256. Memory configurations, we have, what? That's cool. So it's actually using 4 sticks of low power DDR4 RAM on 8 gigs, which is pretty cool, which means you get the, what do you call that? I can't even think of the word, where you have the 2 dual channel. Yeah, there you go, dual channel. HD audio, PCIe configurations, M.2, M key, X4. What? There's so many configurations I could do over here. Okay. Onboard LAN 1, onboard LAN 2, so I can enable and disable these. SATA chipset, okay. Another thing is, I haven't done any searches on this yet, but if it's possible to actually install Mac OS on this yet. I don't think so, because since this is Intel Celeron Kaby Lake? No, it's not Kaby Lake. I forgot what the model is. I don't think they have a CPU thing for it yet. But anyway, looking through this, I thought that was really impressive that I had to show you guys, which is the hat configurations, and you could set your stuff over here. So let's get back to what we were talking about. Then you have your 28-pin Arduino connector on the right side. Looking on the top of the board, over here you have your real-time clock. That's where you would stick the battery. You have the M.2 B key, then the M.2 M key, which we all know we've been playing around with sticking in extra graphic cards and all this other stuff. I'm glad that they have it in here, as well as an Intel wireless Bluetooth adapter, and that's where you would stick the 2 antennas in. Along with this, there's actually 3 models that you could purchase this from, which is the base model at $188, which does not include the eMMC, nor does it include this huge heatsinks on the bottom. Next up is the 218 model, which does include the 64 gigabyte eMMC and this huge heatsink. Also, I think they have Windows pre-installed, but it's not licensed. Then they have the 258, where Windows 10 Enterprise Edition is licensed, and you get everything here that you see, which I highly recommend actually getting the 218 version, which I'm going to be switching this over right to Linux anyway, because I won't really be using Windows. Actually, I'm lying about that. I might be using Windows for another project I have coming up. And with that being said, I've done a lot of benchmarks. I actually redid all my benchmarks against all the x86 boards that I own, so we can see the difference between all the boards. So here it is. From this graph, I'm just going to go from top to bottom, and we're going to start with the price. Compared to all the other boards, this is the second from the lowest. Actually, technically, it's actually the same as the lowest, because if you're going to compare this, you would compare this with the Delta, which is priced at $188. Now you could see I'm using the board that's 218, so that's the price that I'm going to be putting in. And compared to all the other boards, it's very, very affordable, especially for the Latte Panda Alpha. This is half the price of that, and it's almost the same price as the Delta. Now, going into the eMMC write section, you're going to notice that this tops the chart. It's actually got the fastest write ability on the eMMC at 199 megabytes. Then on the eMMC read, again, it tops the chart at 308 compared to all the other boards, including the Udu Bolt and the Latte Panda Alpha. Next up, we have the wattage. If you take a look at this, it's not the lowest, but it's actually pretty near close to it. It's got a wattage of 15.2 compared to all the other boards, less than the Alpha and less than the Udu Bolt, but a little bit more than the Delta. Now going down to heavily benchmarked. Now this obviously is not a GPU intensive board, so it's not gonna top the charts here, but if you're gonna compare it to everything else, it's third on the list compared to the Udu Bolt, which actually has a Vega chipset in there, and Latte Panda Alpha, which has a UHD 615 compared to this at a UHD 600. So it's still pretty good, but you know, it's not gonna be able to play some crazy games. Then you have your Cinebench CPU, which surprised the heck out of me. It is second on the list compared to the Udu Bolt. It is actually faster than the Alpha. And yes, it's half the price of the Alpha, and it is faster. But the Alpha that I am testing, you gotta note, it is the last generation, which is the Core M7 7th gen compared to what they recently shipped, which is the 8th gen. And I don't have that board to test, but as of these stats, this board is actually faster than the Latte Panda Alpha, the 7th gen version, and it's much faster than the Latte Panda Delta. And again, I don't know how they are squeezing this price point with these speeds on this board and all the connectivity, because if you're comparing this to all the other boards that I have on this list, this has more connectivity than all of them combined. I'm telling you, it's got the 40-pin GPIO that none of them have, and has SATA connectors that the Latte Pandas don't really ship with. Overall, I am very impressed with this board right now. I know I didn't show any operating systems yet because that will be coming in a near future. I will have multiple videos of this guy because I am going to be doing pfSense on this, a Snort box, Plex Media Server, Jellyfin that you guys been telling me about, and wow, that thing's pretty impressive, and a lot of other stuff that I want to play. One of my ultimate goals that I wasn't able to do with the Udu Bolt was to get this to work with my VR simulator. So I will be having that video as well in the future, along with other ideas that you guys want me to test on this board. Again, leave it down in the comments below. But as of now, I am very impressed because it handles so well for this price point, and you're going to be seeing this more in the future. So I hope you guys enjoyed the first look of this guy. If you guys did, please hit that like button. If you guys have any questions about this or have any ideas for future projects, hit it down in the comments below. If you guys are new to this channel, consider subscribing. Also hitting that bell notification icon so you know when the next video is going to be out. And as I say in my nerd cave, hack till it hurts.